The story of the Rothschild family does not begin in a grand palace or a powerful boardroom. It starts in the cramped and crowded lanes of the Judengasse, the Jewish ghetto of Frankfurt, Germany. In this restricted world, Meyer Amschel Rothschild was born in 1744. His family, like many others, lived under strict rules that limited their professions, movements, and opportunities. Young Meyer Amschel was destined for a religious life, but the early death of his parents forced him onto a different path. He began an apprenticeship at a banking firm in Hanover, where he learned the intricacies of finance, trade, and dealing with rare coins. These skills would become the foundation of an empire. Returning to Frankfurt, Meyer Amschel established his own business in the 1760s. He started by trading rare coins and medals, which brought him into contact with wealthy and noble patrons. One of his most important early clients was Crown Prince Wilhelm of Hesse, who later became Wilhelm IX, Landgrave of Hesse Castle. This relationship was pivotal. Meyer Amschel proved himself to be a trustworthy and astute financial manager. He handled Wilhelm's investments with great skill, earning not just a profit, but also a reputation for reliability and discretion. This was the seed from which the vast Rothschild financial network would grow, planted firmly in the soil of diligence and trust. The environment of 18th century Europe was one of constant change and conflict, but for a clever businessman this chaos provided opportunity. Meyer Amschel understood the flow of money and goods across borders. He recognized that wars and political shifts created financial needs that traditional banks were often too slow to meet. He began to offer a wider range of financial services, moving beyond simple coin dealing into providing credit and managing wealth for his growing list of clients. His small shop in the Judengasse slowly transformed into a budding international bank, built on a network of trusted contacts and an uncanny ability to foresee economic trends. He laid the groundwork for his children to build upon. Meyer Amschel's vision extended far beyond the walls of the Frankfurt ghetto. He knew that for his family to truly succeed, they needed to operate on a European scale. He instilled in his 5 sons a deep sense of family loyalty and a shared ambition. He taught them everything he knew about finance, emphasizing the importance of working together, communicating quickly, and maintaining absolute integrity in their dealings. Before his death in 1812, he had already begun to dispatch his sons to key financial centers, creating a unique cross-border family partnership that would soon revolutionize the world of finance and make the Rothschild name synonymous with immense wealth and power. Meyer Amschel Rothschild's greatest strategic move was his decision to send his 5 sons to establish branches of the family bank across Europe. This plan was symbolized by the family's coat of arms, which features 5 arrows bound together, representing the 5 brothers and their unbreakable unity. Each son was tasked with conquering a major financial capital, creating a network that was faster, more efficient, and more informed than any competitor. The eldest, Amschel Meyer, remained in Frankfurt to manage the parent house. Salomon was sent to Vienna, the heart of the Habsburg Empire. Nathan went to London, the world's emerging financial center. Karl traveled to Naples, and James established the Paris branch. This decentralized yet deeply interconnected structure was the family's secret weapon. The brothers communicated constantly, using a private courier system that was often faster than official government channels. This gave them an information advantage that was honestly priceless. They could learn about the outcomes of battles, political decisions, or market shifts hours or even days before the general public or their rivals. This intelligence allowed them to make shrewd investments, anticipate currency fluctuations, and position themselves to profit from events. The most famous example is Nathan Rothschild in London, who learned of Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo early and used this knowledge to make a fortune on the London Stock Exchange. The 5 brothers worked in perfect concert, supporting each other's ventures and moving capital across Europe with unprecedented speed. If the government in Vienna needed a loan, Salomon could call upon his brothers in London, Paris, and Frankfurt to raise the necessary funds. This ability to marshal vast resources from across the continent made the Rothschilds indispensable to the governments of Europe. They financed wars, funded the construction of railways, and propped up national economies. Their influence was not based on land or titles like the old aristocracy, but on the modern and far more flexible power of liquid capital. They became a stabilizing force in a volatile era. The success of the five sons cemented the Rothschilds as the preeminent banking dynasty of the 19th century. They were not just bankers. They were financial architects who designed innovative products, like government bonds that were sold to the public, democratizing investment. Their Paris house, under James de Rothschild, became a powerhouse in French industry, financing mines and railroads that fueled the Industrial Revolution. In London, Nathan's branch became a pillar of the city's financial establishment, even helping to prop up the Bank of England on one occasion. The five arrows had hit their targets, and in doing so, they had redrawn the map of European finance forever. The 19th century was an age of empires, wars, and industrial expansion, and the Rothschilds were at the financial heart of it all. Their rise to prominence was not achieved through conspiracy, but through their unparalleled ability to provide one thing that governments and monarchs always needed: money. After the Napoleonic Wars, nations across Europe were deeply in debt and needed massive loans to rebuild and rearm. The Rothschilds, with their continent-spanning network, were uniquely positioned to meet this demand. They organized huge bond issues for countries like Britain, Austria, Prussia, and France, effectively bankrolling the post-Napoleonic order. This made them essential partners to the ruling powers. One of the most significant achievements was financing the British government. In 1825, Nathan Rothschild provided enough gold to the Bank of England to avert a major liquidity crisis, saving it from collapse. This act solidified the family's position in the City of London. Decades later, in 1875, Lionel de Rothschild, Nathan's son, famously provided Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli with the £4 million loan needed for Britain to purchase a controlling stake in the Suez Canal. The loan was arranged in a matter of hours, demonstrating the family's immense financial power and agility. This strategic purchase secured a vital waterway for the British Empire, and the Rothschilds were the ones who made it possible. The family's influence extended beyond just lending money. By acting as the primary bankers for so many governments, they became trusted advisors on economic policy. Kings, ministers, and chancellors sought their counsel on matters of trade, taxation, and industrial development. They used this position to promote stability, as peace and predictable markets were good for business. While they sometimes financed opposing sides in conflicts, their broader interest lay in preventing continent-wide wars that could disrupt the intricate web of trade and finance they had built. Their power was real, but it was the power of a creditor, not a secret ruler. This influence was also visible in the infrastructure projects that transformed Europe. The Rothschilds were pioneers in financing railways, which were the arteries of the Industrial Revolution. James de Rothschild's bank in Paris was instrumental in building France's first major railway network, the Chemin de Fer du Nord. In Austria, Salomon Rothschild financed the country's first steam railway. These investments were not just profitable, they spurred economic growth, created jobs, and physically connected the continent in new ways. The Rothschilds' capital was the fuel for progress, demonstrating how finance could be a powerful engine for modernization and change. The world has changed dramatically since the 19th century, and so has the Rothschild family's role within it. The vast, unified banking empire of the five brothers has evolved into separate, independent entities managed by their descendants. Today, the family's primary financial interests are concentrated in two main firms, Rothschild & Co. and the Edmond de Rothschild Group. These are not colossal universal banks like JP Morgan Chase or HSBC, but rather more specialized institutions focused on wealth management, private banking, and financial advisory services. Their influence is now more subtle and specialized, rooted in expertise rather than sheer size. Rothschild & Co., headquartered in Paris, is a publicly listed company with a global presence. It is a world leader in financial advisory, particularly in mergers and acquisitions. Corporations and governments turn to them for advice on complex financial transactions because of their long-standing reputation for discretion, expertise, and their extensive network of contacts. While the family still holds a significant stake in the company, it is managed as a modern corporation, not a private fiefdom. Its operations are transparent and subject to the same regulations as any other major financial institution, a far cry from the secretive family-run business of the 19th century. The second major entity is the Edmond de Rothschild Group, based in Geneva, Switzerland. This firm is distinct from Rothschild & Co. and focuses primarily on private banking for wealthy individuals and institutional asset management. It also has significant interests in fine winemaking, hospitality, and philanthropy. This group represents a different branch of the family and operates independently. The existence of these two separate and sometimes competing firms shows that the Rothschild family today is not a monolithic entity with a single agenda. It is a diverse clan with various business interests spread across different companies and countries. The scale of these modern Rothschild businesses is often misunderstood. While highly respected and successful in their niche markets, they do not dominate the global financial system. Their combined assets are a small fraction of those held by the world's largest banking conglomerates. The idea that they control global finance is simply not supported by the facts. They operate within a highly competitive and regulated industry, alongside thousands of other banks and financial firms. Their power today comes from their brand, their history, and their specialized knowledge, not from a secret, overarching control of the world's money. The Rothschild legacy extends far beyond the world of finance. From the very beginning, the family has been, deeply involved in philanthropy, the arts, and other cultural pursuits. This tradition actually began with the first generation of wealthy Rothschilds, who saw it as their duty to contribute to society. They funded hospitals, orphanages, and educational institutions across Europe, often with a focus on supporting Jewish communities, but also contributing to the wider public good. In London, Vienna, and Paris, the Rothschild name became associated not just with banking, but also with generous charitable giving that really left a lasting impact on their home cities. One of the most famous and enduring of the family's non-financial passions is winemaking. In 1853, Baron Nathaniel de Rothschild of the London branch purchased the Chateau Brun Mouton vineyard in Bordeaux, renaming it Chateau Mouton Rothschild. Then in 1868, his uncle, James de Rothschild of the Paris branch, acquired the nearby Chateau Lafite vineyard, creating one of the most celebrated rivalries in the world of fine wine. Over the generations, various branches of the family have continued this tradition, producing some of the most sought-after and prestigious wines on the planet. Their wineries are businesses, but they're also a testament to a deep appreciation for culture, land, and craftsmanship. The family's patronage of the arts has also been, extraordinary. Rothschild homes were filled with priceless collections of paintings, sculptures, furniture, and decorative arts. They were among the greatest art collectors of the 19th century, and their taste shaped the art market for generations. Many of these incredible collections were later bequeathed to public museums. The Louvre in Paris, the British Museum in London, and Waddesdon Manor in England, a Rothschild estate now managed by the National Trust, all house vast and important collections donated by the family. This has allowed the public to share in the cultural treasures that the family's wealth helped to preserve. Today, Rothschild descendants continue to be active in these fields. They sit on the boards of museums, run charitable foundations focused on science, education, and the environment, and continue to manage their historic vineyards. For example, the Edmund de Rothschild Foundation is a major philanthropic organization supporting social entrepreneurship and the arts. This multifaceted identity is a crucial part of the Rothschild story. They are not just bankers. They are builders, collectors, and philanthropists whose contributions have enriched society in ways that balance sheets and financial reports can never fully capture. No family in modern history has been the subject of more persistent and elaborate conspiracy theories than the Rothschilds. The central myth alleges that this single family secretly controls the world. According to these theories, they manipulate governments, start wars for profit, and pull the strings of the entire global financial system. This narrative often claims they own all the central banks, including the United States Federal Reserve, and possess a hidden fortune so vast it dwarfs national economies. However, when examined with factual evidence, these sensational claims quickly fall apart. The reality is far more mundane, and honestly, far less sinister. The claim that the Rothschilds control the world's central banks is demonstrably false. Most central banks, such as the Bank of England, the European Central Bank, and the United States Federal Reserve, are public or quasi-public institutions owned and controlled by governments, not private families. Their ownership structures and board members are publicly documented. There is no evidence of any Rothschild ownership or controlling interest in these critical institutions. This myth persists because it offers a simple, villainous explanation for complex economic events, but it has no basis in reality. The family's businesses are regulated entities, not shadow governments. Similarly, the wild estimates of the family's wealth, sometimes reaching into the hundreds of trillions of dollars, are pure fantasy. While the Rothschilds were indisputably the wealthiest family of the 19th century, their fortune has been divided among many descendants over many generations. Today, various Rothschild family members are wealthy, but their individual and collective fortunes do not come close to the mythical figures cited in conspiracy theories. Publicly available data from sources like Forbes and Bloomberg, which track the world's richest people, do not list any Rothschild among the top ranks. The idea of a single, consolidated family fortune of unimaginable size is a fiction. The core of the conspiracy theory, that the Rothschilds orchestrate global events for their own benefit, misunderstands the nature of their historical influence. Their power in the 19th century was based on being the primary lenders to states. They were influential because they were indispensable creditors, not because they were secret puppet masters. In today's globalized world, with countless powerful corporations, international banks, and sovereign wealth funds, the idea that one family could exert total control is even more implausible. The myth of Rothschild world control is a powerful story, but it remains just that, a story, unsupported by credible evidence. It is impossible to understand the persistence of Rothschild conspiracy theories without acknowledging their deep roots in anti-Semitism. For centuries, hateful stereotypes have been directed at Jewish people, falsely accusing them of possessing secret power, controlling money, and harboring a hidden agenda to dominate the world. The Rothschild family, being both Jewish and incredibly successful in finance, became the perfect symbol for these old and dangerous prejudices. They were cast as the living embodiment of anti-Semitic caricatures, and the myths that surround them are often recycled versions of centuries-old lies. The connection began in the 19th century, as the family's influence grew. Pamphlets and political cartoons appeared, depicting them in grotesque anti-Semitic ways, often as spiders weaving a web to entrap the world. These narratives played on the fears of a changing society, blaming a single Jewish family for the complex and often unsettling forces of industrialization and capitalism. They provided a convenient scapegoat, allowing people to avoid confronting the real systemic causes of economic disruption and social unrest. The Rothschilds' success was not seen as the result of skill and hard work, but as proof of a sinister Jewish conspiracy. This toxic narrative was eagerly adopted by extremist political movements. Both far-right and far-left agitators used the Rothschild name to attack their enemies. For nationalists, they were a symbol of a disloyal international cabal. For some socialists, they represented the evils of finance capitalism. The Nazis made the Rothschilds a central feature of their propaganda machine, producing films like The Rothschilds in 1940 to dehumanize Jewish people and justify their persecution. They twisted the family's history into a tale of greed and manipulation to fuel hatred and legitimize their genocidal agenda. These myths were not harmless fantasies, they were weapons. In the digital age, these old anti-Semitic tropes have found new life online. Anonymous forums, social media platforms, and conspiracy websites endlessly repeat the same debunked claims about the family. The myths are repackaged for a new generation, often stripped of their most overt historical context, but still carrying the same poisonous undertones. Understanding this history is crucial. When we hear claims of a secret Rothschild plot to control the world, we are not hearing a new or original theory. We are hearing the echo of a long and dark history of prejudice, a narrative designed to stir up hatred and distrust, not to reveal the truth. The most extreme conspiracy theories about the Rothschilds go far beyond finance, making truly fantastic claims. Some allege that the family created major world religions, founded nations like the United States or Israel to serve their own interests, or even have a secret plan for how the world will end. These are dramatic and compelling tales, but they belong to the realm of fiction, not history. There is a complete absence of any credible historical or documentary evidence to support such assertions. They are products of imagination, built upon a foundation of suspicion and a desire to find simple answers to life's most complex questions. The idea that the Rothschilds created governments or religions is historically absurd. The world's major religions are thousands of years old, predating the Rothschild family by many centuries. Governments and nations are formed through complex historical processes involving politics, war, culture, and popular movements. While the Rothschilds did finance governments, lending money to a state is not the same as creating it. Their relationship with nations was that of a banker to a client, a powerful and influential relationship to be sure, but not one of creation or absolute control. These claims are not supported by any recognized historian or academic scholar. Similarly, the notion that the family has a diabolical plan for how the world will end is pure invention. This claim taps into apocalyptic fears and the belief in a hidden hand guiding humanity toward a predetermined fate. It is a theme common in many conspiracy theories, which project an image of total, godlike power onto their chosen villains. In reality, the Rothschilds are a family of human beings engaged in business, philanthropy, and living their lives. They are subject to the same laws, economic forces, and uncertainties as everyone else. There is no secret blueprint for global domination or a planned apocalypse hidden in a Rothschild vault. These myths thrive because they offer a sense of order in a chaotic world. It can be more comforting to believe that powerful, evil people are in control than to accept that many world events are random, unpredictable, and driven by the actions of millions of different people. But this comfort comes at a high price. It requires abandoning critical thinking and evidence-based reasoning. The real history of the Rothschilds is fascinating enough without adding layers of fantasy. They were financial innovators who rose from a ghetto to the heights of European society. But they were not, and are not, secret masters of the universe. The story of the Rothschild family is a powerful lesson in the difference between history and myth. The historical reality is one of remarkable ambition, financial genius, and strategic foresight. It is the story of how Meyer Amschel Rothschild and his 5 sons built a banking dynasty that helped shape the economic and political landscape of 19th century Europe. They were pioneers of international finance, advisors to governments, and patrons of the arts. Their influence was immense, and their legacy is woven into the fabric of modern finance, philanthropy, and culture. These facts are well documented and form a compelling chapter in world history. However, layered on top of this reality is a century and a half of myth, distortion, and outright fabrication. The conspiracy theories that target the Rothschilds are not based on evidence but on fear and prejudice. They take the family's real success and twist it into a sinister plot for world domination, drawing on old anti-Semitic stereotypes to create a convenient villain. These myths falsely accuse them of controlling central banks, orchestrating wars, and possessing a secret, all-powerful agenda. As we have seen, these claims crumble under the weight of factual scrutiny. They persist not because they are true, but because they offer simple explanations for a complex world. In an age of rampant misinformation, it is more important than ever to be able to distinguish between fact and fiction. The Rothschild conspiracies provide a clear case study in how falsehoods can take root and spread, poisoning public discourse and fueling hatred. Believing these myths means ignoring a vast body of historical evidence in favor of anonymous online posts and debunked propaganda. It requires us to accept sensationalism over scholarship and to see shadows where there is only substance. The truth is always more complex, but it is also far more rewarding. Therefore, the final recommendation is simple: seek out the facts. Read history from reputable scholars. Question sources that make extraordinary claims without extraordinary evidence. Understand the historical context of prejudice and how it continues to shape false narratives today. The real story of the Rothschilds is a human story, one of struggle, success, influence, and evolution over generations. By focusing on this verifiable history, we can not only learn about a fascinating family, but also arm ourselves with the critical thinking skills needed to navigate a world filled with myths. The truth in the end is our best defense.